idea. It's a nice enough drive, even if it's on the highway. Once we get to Taormina, we're going to have a walking tour together, and we're going to visit the ancient theatre, which is the most important site of the town. In any case, I will give you the chance even to leave the group if you like. I will repeat it a few times, so apologies already about me repeating the same information, as long as you tell me in advance, yeah? And the other thing is, we're going to have a bit of time at leisure in coming back, but I will make sure I'll give you a clear meeting point and time, so at any time you know exactly where to go and when. Remember, your bus is 7 silver. That's the important thing, because you might end up in a wrong destination after that, yeah? And your guide is called? Just checking. So, now I'll sit and introduce to all of you the most important person of our tour, since we have a bit of a driving to do. Rosario is going to bring us to our destination, and hopefully, if we behave well, bring us back to the port. So, big enough for Italian standards. And this is one of the main ports, of course, we have in Sicily. Now, Sicily, we are lucky enough from that point of view, because you know the weather is quite nice, quite mild, so normally it's easy enough to have a bright sunny day. Even for the railway, this train station is not too far from here, and it's connected to the port, which was essential for exporting our main products. And today this bridge doesn't seem to be very useful, but please help me with your imagination now. In the past, so let's say 19th century, this would have been water. All this road, so including the traffic jam, yeah, this was used to be part of the coast. The water has been pushed a little further to make the harbour, to make the port bigger. So this big bridge was built so that the train could skip, you know, the Gulf and get to the Syracuse direction straight, and to the port as well. And we're about to drive next to the train station until, let's say, the first half of the 20th century. Catania was an industrial city as well. We were exporting, except for oranges and lemons, as you can probably imagine, because we normally still today associate these products to Sicily. One of our main products to export was sulfur. You know the mineral? We were used to have mines in the inner part of Sicily, in the middle of the island, and then the sulfur was brought to Catania because all the refineries were in Catania. The refineries as well were connected to the train stations, are also a military target because, of course, you know, sulfur was also used in the military industry. So they get damaged heavily, and after the war, in fact, were not competitive anymore because other countries, like the United States, for example, started to produce it with a better technique and a cheaper technique as well. So we're just passing the central station, and the chimneys you see on a far distance on the right hand side, can you see them? They're made of red bricks. We're turning around. All those chimneys were originally belonging to the refineries of sulfur. Today they're converted in other buildings, museums or nightclubs, some of them. Some of them, of course, are still standing. Most of them have been damaged, destroyed. Please keep in mind that these places are precious to us today. We call them, usually we refer to them like with the expression industrial archaeology, but for a long time in history, of course, these places were not considered any interesting or precious. So that's why this area of the city changed very much, and some of these chimneys were replaced with newer buildings, yeah? I think if you learn how to drive in Sicily, you can probably drive in most places. So it's a skill, you know, it's an advantage. All this area of the city was developed really in the 20th century, the end of the 19th century it started. But keep in mind, even with the industrial vocation, Catania is a very old city. So our history in this city starts in the 8th century before Christ. We were one of the Greek colonies in Sicily. But we will have, during our drive, we will have a great view of the mountain in many spots. Local people call it the mountain. We know it's an ant people. I'm an example of that. I'm originally from the city of Catania, and a few years ago we moved. You know when you say I'll move to the country? Well, for us the country is Mount Etna, really. So it's to do with the research of a little bit of green maybe and a different place coming out from one of the craters. When you don't see the smoke, it's only because the wind is cutting it away. Yeah. So at the moment, obviously it's not too windy at the moment because it's a very young volcano, so it changes, you know. About the age, just over 500,000 years, but it's like a teenager for a volcano. So even the activity of Mount Etna is changing constantly, you know, decade from decade. So at the moment we have 4 active craters at the top of Mount Etna. Active craters are the southeast, which is the crater right in front of us, the one you see the smoke coming out from. The northeast crater, right on the other side, and these 2 are the most active. In the middle we have 2 more craters called Voragine and Boccanuova, and together they're often called the central crater. The central crater hasn't been erupting since the 70s, but still we consider it still active because it's a short time since the last eruption, yeah? And of course and lemons, and for olives and prickly pears. Also, normally we cultivate the slope until 1,500 meters more or less, and we have some indigenous grapes which are Nerello Campagnards. And if we look in front of us, well, in a moment, at the moment we only see the truck, but after that, slightly on the right hand side, we can already see Taormina on a far distance. It's one of the 2 villages as we get so they want to push it back, but for this reason they have to make more tunnels so that the train can go underneath the mountain. So that's why I will only believe it when I see it. Sorry, but in the meantime, because we're about to exit the highway and to climb to get to Taormina, but don't worry, Rosario is going to do the climbing for us. We're only looking out the window. I can already tell you some of the roads to get to Taormina were not originally designed for big vehicles, but you'll see what I mean. Let me start giving you practical information, which I will repeat, so I'm sorry for repeating, but I always think it's a good way to memorize. Now what we're going to do is we're going to drive, well, our Rosario is going to drive us to one of the parking areas near the town of Taormina. Taormina is a small medieval town, and obviously buses cannot access the actual village because it's mainly pedestrian, which is nice for us. So we're going to get to the closest point the bus can leave us, and it's a parking space at the edge of the town center. And I can already tell you the name of the parking space that you can try and memorize, just the whole town. Catania, because it's the direction of Catania. So the parking is facing south, and Catania is the city we're coming from, yeah, the port. We won't be able to be on the same elevator, if you understand what I mean. Also, on the way up to number 7, we can also take a few moments for a restroom stop. Sorry, not very elegant, but we all need to know, you know, the opportunities when we travel. Every floor, so we at the top, so that everybody can get the chance, you know, to be fresher once we meet at the top, yeah? And from the top, we will take a walk through the town, so we will walk almost all town, the main street, to get to the ancient theatre, which is on the other side of town. We will have the visit of the ancient theatre, and after that you will have a bit of time at leisure, and of course we will meet again in Porta Catania, so same place where we gather. That's going to be our meeting to get back on the bus. Now please tell me so far if I'm able to explain myself, because of course practical issues are the most important, okay? Once again, of course I'll repeat the information once we get to Porta Catania. If any of you doesn't want to take the walking tour, I understand, you know, time is precious and we want to use it the way we like. So if, by the way, you just prefer to have more time for yourself and you're not interested in coming to the ancient theatre, that's absolutely fine. Just wait until I give you the meeting time, and please let me know in that case. So, you know, then I know that if I don't have the right number of people, it's okay, because you're probably going shopping or somewhere else. And it also means I don't have to grab people from other groups to make up the same number, which I will do if I need. I'm joking. Don't worry. Hopefully not, okay? But on the way back, if you see new faces next to you, just say nothing and make friends, just in case. You probably start understanding what I meant by the roads not made for big vehicles, yeah? We're literally climbing curve after curve to get to the village.
What is all the smoke off to the east, to the right?
In the main...
Let me check, because I got distracted now. Where? On the right?
Yes.
The smoke?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, in Calabria, on the it's probably, I would say it's a fire. Normally, I can talk about Sicily, but I'm sure in Calabria we share some of the issues. We have a big problem with wildfires. Well, of course, they're set by people, yeah? Sorry, let's... and it's easy to lose control because of the Sirocco wind. It happens very often. Usually it's more in the summertime. That's why, for example, in the hot season, it's also forbidden, you know, to burn. If you live in the country, you cannot light any fires for safety reasons. But we have a problem with that. You know, you can ask them. What we're going to do is, of course, bring your headsets, you know, the whisper, I call them whispers, I'm not sure if, yeah, the devices, yeah? Bring them with you, because we won't be able to have them.
że jak kaca nie ma po jezinie. Dobra, to może.
Catania. So the park has same name as this text. In medieval times, Taormina, like many other cities, almost all of them had to be fortified and protected by all the other
Che poi vertifici.
So now you can see from the motorway, Taormina lies on the slope of a hill. So obviously, you know, roads and ways to climb up and down. Train line, it's easier for the highway, but centuries ago, it was safer to be here. What I mean is, for trade, the main communication system was usually a little higher. This way, stay away from pirates.
And it represents the female centaur, so the symbol of Taormina.
Vedo quanto pigliava 1000 lettori, no? Perché fuori blocco del mondo comune.
Guarda, praticamente all'orario in centro.
Very nice. Gracias.
Prego.
Ai ai. Basta. Aspetta, aspetta.
It's some images from the Sicilian cards. You know, we play cards, a deck of cards that is different from the French one, let's say. And the Sicilian cards, so I think it could be maybe a nice souvenir to bring with you. You find decks of cards in every shop or tobacco place. Even if you look at the window on the other side, all green, red, deck. No, vedrete, noi have specific guide.
È un gruppo, ma male.
This set of cards, especially with you, but I found out recently. So this is not the Porta Messina that I mentioned. Remember at the beginning I told you there are two gates at the two edges. This is right in the middle, and that's why we call it the middle gate.
Vediamo mezzo cannolino.
Now basically, what happened is Taormina was completely stopped for the first time by the Greeks, right? But then, through medieval time, you know, there is a reason why people die. It's a hard time to be around, wars, epidemics. The population in Taormina got much smaller, so what they did is, all people, all the residents, they went living only in one particular area of the town, which is the one we just walked through. So what they had to do is, to protect themselves, they had to build a new set of walls to surround the area that was inhabited. Everything else, so everything we're going to walk from here to the ancient theater was the ancient city, but then abandoned.
Don't ever put your fingers in
Put
your
them straight over the camera.
on the lens.
Can you let me hold it up? I don't need it in your position. I can.
No, I need it in my position.
Sometimes I like to
Stop.
get to understand.
Don't hit me on the head.
But I am, especially if I'm going to
Don't hit me on the
We're
head.
going to need the ocean one because we've got people. Okay? I don't want that man in it, so just stay the night.
As you walk around, I know you're seeing lollies everywhere. And it's going to be easy to find one. And definitely, wherever you decide to taste it, it's going to be from nice to excellent. But in my place, I'll tell you also what I think is very funny. There's a restaurant up there. I'm just about to say that. Honestly, I cannot already. I mean, I barely think.
Something that would fit in. And what would be here for a male? What color?
He's really big or like on
No,
the
no,
dog?
he's not big at all.
Leo?
Ok, ciao.
Angelo, dove devi andare?